through your head. My way of teaching is to first put doubt in your brain to challenge your belief systems. And then maybe you can choose new beliefs or keep up with old beliefs, right? So when you think about working for money, what comes through your head? Correct.
That's it.
Do you have friends who haven't found the good job even though they went to school?
So I have many friends that have graduated and they're told that they're gonna go to school and they're gonna find a job, and they find themselves without anything. So many of them have found a job, and many of them have also not found a job.
Yeah, the irony is, when I left school in the 60s, there was plenty of jobs, but the world has changed, and our schools haven't. And so they're still making this innate promise of get a job. Employer, or like my poor dad, he was so afraid of losing his government pension. And I'm going, Jesus, what a way to run your life. Your pension? So my old man kind of got fired. He lost his pension. It was the most frightening thing in the world to him. He had no pension. Then it was Social Security, which is even worse. So that's why my goal when I was about your age, a little older, around 25, I said, my goal is to never need a paycheck again from anybody. Even the government. I don't want any Medicare, Social Security, or whatever. I was a military pilot. So, you got to get the military pilot pension. I said, you do, but I'm not going to. And just because of this here, that was the difference. Because I never wanted to work for money to need a paycheck. So the next few lessons in Millennial Money, you'll find out what I do work for. And we're going to talk about later, your first line item expense is taxes. Just recently, President Trump said he had a tax cut. He didn't have a tax cut for these guys. As you know, the rules are always written for the rich, okay? I didn't make the rules. You can get angry at me, but these are the rules. The rich make the rules. The golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules.
Yeah.
So what I work for, number one, is I'm an entrepreneur. I want businesses. I have multiple businesses. And I don't work in them, as you know, because you work here. You never see me, do you?
No.
Because I don't work for a paycheck.
Exactly.
Next is real estate. And real estate is good for many things which we'll go into, but number one is debt. I use a lot of debt to buy real estate, and I pay no taxes. That's the relationship there. The next is paper. And that's savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, and that stuff. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't save money. I don't have any of that. For when I left school, rather than working for a paycheck and working for money, my education had to go beyond getting a job, which I had a good job. But I now had to start, when I left school, about your age, the thing I focused on first actually was commodities. So back in 1972, I started buying gold. And it was illegal for Americans to own gold. You can imagine that. Back in 72. They do it to you guys today. You have student loan, which is the worst type of debt of all because you cannot declare bankruptcy on it. And then you get out and you try and buy a house, and you call it an asset when it's really a liability. Why? Because the cash is flowing that way. Your house costs you money you rent a house, it still costs you money. Okay? Then you have to have a nice car. I had one of those. So the problem with most young people is they go to school to get that job, then a lot of them have student loan debt, then they try and get married and buy a house, they have a car, and then they have credit card debt, but they never have the chance to come over here. If they do any investing in America, it's a 401k, which I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, you should, but I don't, because I don't have to. So when I say rich don't work for money, I never wanted to be dependent on a paycheck, either from an employer or the government. I wanted to be a free human being.
Country because they want to live the American dream of buying their house, going to a job, working paycheck to paycheck, going to school, when in reality that's a nightmare.
And then what happens if they lose their job?
They lose all security they were promised, and they lose everything, and they don't have anything to provide for their family either.
So what is your brain? I mean, you're a very smart young lady, but now your brain is if you hire employees, they give you tax breaks. Look at right now, Amazon is looking for a new home. Every government wants to give them a home. You know, please move to Indiana, please move to Canada. Why? Because they'll bring in employees, and employees pay the tax. It's the same as Tesla. They got, I think, 50 billion or something from the state of Nevada because they bring in employees. So that's why when your teacher says you go to school, get a job, you say, I think I'll think a little bit differently this time. Now you need a job in interim, but you want a job for the experience. That's the difference. So the reason Rich Dad's lesson number one is rich don't work for money is I never want a paycheck. I want to use debt, and I don't want to pay tax. I pay some tax, but minimum tax. But I want to accumulate this so I have cash flow. So what would you say to your friends or your fellow millennials about why the rich don't work for money?
I would tell them that they really, truly need to educate themselves because to work for money is completely ridiculous. While taxes are increasing and the inflation is increasing, it doesn't make any sense to be working from paycheck to paycheck. The rich don't work for money. The money works for them.
Or being afraid of being fired.
Yeah.
Or losing your pension. Did you realize that's the biggest terror of most people? I might lose my pension too.
Yeah, I mean, it's really sad that it's one of the biggest fears of everybody on a daily basis, whether they're going to get fired or not. And just seeing